How many times have we told ourselves, when I have the money, I'll be happy. When I have the job, then I'll be happy. When I have the relationship, then I'll be happy. When I have the house, then I'll be happy. Thinking that when we have the thing, then we will finally allow ourselves to feel the happiness. When we have it, then we would enjoy our life more. And when we have it, everything else in our life is perfect. But here is a question for you to think about. What if the version of you right now is preparing you to step into that version of you, who you are meant to become, the ideal version of yourself? What if all that is happening right now in your current reality is molding you to become that ideal version of yourself? Molding you to meet that ideal version of yourself by you stepping into that version of yourself every single day that you can in any situation to make that version of yourself normal. And what is normal? Normal is familiar. And normal and familiar, that is ideally what we would want to be feeling in our present moment, how our life is in that ideal life that we want. If you were to time travel and meet that ideal version of yourself that has everything that you truly want, would you be able to handle all that comes with it? Emotionally, physically, mentally, with what you have now, with who you are now, to fully be able to hold that version of you in the future, externally and internally, fully. But honestly, shout out to the TV shows Dark Matter and Paper Girls for that time travel idea. I watched them and they honestly have been a game changer for what the fuck I've been watching. Those are definitely some good shows that if you want to check it out, Apple TV and Amazon Prime. But the Dark Matter one is crazy. It just a crazy perception shift and like seeing the different timelines of you playing out in a freaking TV show is crazy. But yeah, getting back to the point, maybe, just maybe, this whole time you've been focusing on where you want to go, where you want to be, focusing on the future. But what if right now is literally preparing you for that future version of yourself? The one that you have been envisioning this whole freaking time. Currently removing old, outdated versions of yourself in every waking present moment that maybe used to self-sabotage, whatever it is, the habits, the belief systems, the behaviors that aren't meant to exist within that ideal future version of you. And then with that removing process, also adding in what you're meant to fully step into, the habits, behaviors, and beliefs that are meant for you to fully become that person stepping into that ideal life, that ideal version of you, to where that is your life. That's how you live your normal life, the normal version of you that lives it every single freaking day. But truly, 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 what if you are where you are exactly for a reason? And I know people say that, but it's like truly deeping that. I have a lot to express here in this video. And with all of that being said, in this video, I am going to explain to you how you can close that gap sooner than later, making that ideal version of you more and more realistic, bringing it closer and closer with changes both externally and internally, both conceptually and practically. Because honestly, with a clear vision and an action plan to get there, it can be way more easier to get there than you might think. Now, let's start here with chapter number 1, which is taking a real look at your life. Now, this is going to be the base of what I'm touching on here. So it's really the most important information. The first thing that we want to look at when we want to up-level our life is to take a look at where we are currently. And once we realize that, we can then look at where we want to be in the future. Taking a deep look at how our life looks right now, our habits, our belief patterns, our behaviors. And on the flip side, imagining what our ideal self is equally doing, behaving, operating like, the belief systems, everything in between that. Like if you saw 2 different timelines of yourself, one that's right now and one that's your ideal self, how would that look like? So there's 2 versions that we're trying to really conceptualize right here. One of the present and one of the future. And let's start by taking a deep look at your life right now and where you're at. But the easiest thing to do is to really get clear and ask yourself, in what area of my life is the most important to up-level right now? You take a look at how you do things within that area of life. Whether that is health, wealth, relationships, it is really up to you here, whatever you want to up-level. And when you find the area or different areas that you want to focus on, then you can look at and map out that ideal version of yourself in the exact same areas of life, what you'd be doing in that said future. And when you see the difference between the present and the future, you can then start getting that ball moving in the area that actually matters. Get that ball moving in the right direction. It really just looks like you seeing exactly where you are right now and then making the moves to ultimately step into that ideal version of yourself. Even if it's a bridge to where you want to go, it is still helping you get to where you want to be ultimately, right? Let's say that your goal is to make money online. Be one of those people who are making 10K or more a month to be financially free and never worry about money ever again. When you have that goal in mind, we have to see exactly where you are right now. And that comes with being brutally honest with yourself. And then you can see the steps needed to get you exactly to that point. Looking at you now currently though, what are you doing now to make money? Is it sustainable? Do you have the right systems in place to produce consistent money every single month? Like someone who makes that 10K or more a month to where that is their normal. What does that person have that makes it possible for them to achieve it every single month? What would they be doing to make that normal for them? Would they master their content online so that they can easily make that money online? Would they prioritize their time in a certain way so that their days are well structured and easy to follow? Now, how would they even get there in the first place? That's where you can plot yourself to get there, taking steps every day to reach that ideal version of yourself. Taking note of exactly what the ideal version of yourself would be doing in that said area of your life that you really want to uplevel. And when you take action every day and practice, that gap will start to close. And that is exactly what we will be talking here in chapter 2, which is the steps taken to get there. When you have really gotten a full picture of how you want your life to look like, you'll be able to see what you are meant to be doing right now in order to get there, that future version of yourself. And right now, that consists of taking action now. That makes sense to get to that future version of yourself, the ideal version, to where the things that you are working on becomes normal, easy, and familiar. So let's say with the previous example, someone who makes around 10K or more a month online. What can you do today? And then repeat it and get better at it to eventually meet up with that ideal version of yourself that makes the 10K a month easily, to where that said life is your current reality. It already exists in a different timeline. It already exists. You have it in mind. How do you get there? Does that mean up-leveling your money habits? What would have to be normal for you so that 10K a month is normal? What would you have to master to get there? Does that include mastering your social media content to make the money getting leads online? Now, how would you even do that? For your social media content, would you practice scripting, editing, until you have a real and true idea of what your unique style looks like? Would you already have a system in place to manage your finances since you are already making that kind of money? There has to be something there, right? You are able to hold the money in the future, so something has to be different than the current reality that you're living in right now for that future version to be normal, your ideal reality. When you see exactly what you need to master to get there, you can then reverse engineer that freaking process, making a map of exactly how you are meant to get there, knowing that you can take actions every single day to get there and make the process familiar to you. Just like how your future self would act, behave. Now, there can be many obstacles when getting to that ideal version of yourself. Because just like a map that you follow, just like a journey, there are going to be setbacks. Small blocks that you have to overcome to get to the outcome. Think of a good storyline in a TV show or a film. Or think of someone who has become successful despite where they grew up or came from. The main character in the show or the film or that person in real life, they go through something so profound, right? Something to where they were in the dumps, whatever it was, the obstacles that were in their way in order for them to actually get to where they were meant to be. At the end of the film, at the end of the series, the outcome, right? Which eventually led them to the riches, to the success, to the fame, to that ideal version of them, what they have been dreaming of this whole time ever since the beginning. And with each obstacle in their way on that path, they will tackle each one at a time, with however long it's meant to take to tackle that whole thing to eventually get back onto that main path, back to the path of reaching that ideal version of themselves or to that ideal future reality. Now, when I say obstacles, this gives me an image of a boulder, a rock. Imagine you're walking down a path and a rock is blocking you from continuing down that path. And you have a pickaxe in your hand. You can only hit the rocks as many times as you can in one go. Just like when you face challenges, it might not resolve itself in one day, but little by little, step by step, hitting that shit as much as you can, eventually it will crumble the rock and you'll finally be able to step through it and back on that main path. Now that was a lot, but I'm going to go deeper into what you can do both practically and conceptually when you feel those obstacles in your way. Leaning into chapter number 3, which is when facing the obstacles. Along the way to that future version of yourself, though, it might peel back layers of yourself that you did not even know existed in the first place, or bring back old cycles of perfectionism, overwhelm, or procrastination that you are meant to face to step fully into the ideal version of yourself. Like I said earlier, removing things and then adding things that are meant to be normal for you to get you there. But the real answer that I can give you, honestly, is that truly mastering what you're meant to become and do is the true key to when you're faced with obstacles when they come. Becoming is internal. Doing is external. Mastering the process and being okay with setbacks. Still doing exactly what you have been doing, even when the setbacks do come. Because they might. They will. Not letting the external affect you. Because with that exact process of doing, you're also becoming. They're both intertwined, which is that internal job, becoming. You're growing both internally and externally. Always. So let's get into this. Conceptually, internally, you have a lot to do when facing those obstacles, meaning changing your relationship and the meaning that you have with the said obstacle. Let's say that you're currently feeling anxiety around money, but the ideal version of you is making that 10K or more a month. Do you think that ideal version of you would feel anxious around money? Now that is not to judge or shame you at all. It is really to get you to understand where you are at now. Being honest with yourself and being able to take a deeper look at where you are currently and where you are meant to go to get to the ideal version of you. To really conceptualize it and to see your present reality clearly. Seeing exactly how you would actually handle and deal with money. How you would feel about money, both internally and externally. In that ideal version of yourself. That ideal state. But do you remember what I said in the beginning of this video? If you were to time travel and meet that ideal version of yourself in the current state that you are in, that has everything that you want, would you be able to handle all of that? All of what comes with it right now? When you see that mismatch of where you are now and where you want to be, you can literally decide daily to step into that and practice it with repetition so that eventually you can feel safe with money. Eventually, you can feel neutral with money. Eventually, you will have a different meaning with money. And eventually, you will love money. Love what you can do with money. It all changes. The only thing that changed truly was the way that you viewed it internally, the way that you viewed money. And there can be those external changes, yes. Like putting systems in place that your ideal self would use to track the money, let's say. Or however that looks like for you. Any actions taken now that you know your ideal self would use as a system to make it so that this state of mind is normal. This state of being is normal. Now, with that being said, let's take a look at some practical steps that you can take when you face those obstacles. Put on a timer. Usually when we feel stuck, we feel like we can't do anything, especially in overwhelm. Like we're not in control of what we intended to do or where we want to be. Maybe we're scared or overwhelmed because we feel like we have so much to do in so little time to do them. We don't even know where to start at all. Now, the best solution I have here is, like I said, that timer. This is something that has helped me get out of my own procrastination and overwhelm, overthinking. Even if it's 10 minutes, it can truly, truly be effective. This is allowing you to step back into control, forcing you to get the thing that matters done. Even if you're scared, you've still taken the action, and that is all that matters. And when you see how much you've gotten done, even if it is 10 minutes of your time, naturally you'll probably want to continue doing exactly what you were doing for longer, or maybe even finish it. Who knows? Just like how people get themselves to go to the gym when they really don't feel like doing anything at all. Let's say they tell themselves, okay, we're gonna go to the gym and we're just gonna walk. We're just gonna walk on the treadmill. I'm truly too tired to do anything else today. I don't want to do it. They get to the gym, they go on the treadmill, they finish it, and then they think, oh wait, I'm already here, I might as well do some abs. I might as well lift some weights. I'm already here, I might as well. You are exposing yourself to the thing that you want to get done. But for it to be less overwhelming, you dip your little toe in it And with that, it allows you to feel a sense of safety, safe enough to eventually step fully in to where you feel good enough about what you just did within the past 10 minutes, to where you naturally have just created momentum for yourself, which might fuel your motivation to finish it or get through the toughest parts, honestly. But when you put a timer on for a task in your day, you started it with the timer. The timer goes off and you might say, well, I already started it. I might as well keep going and finish it if I have time. Another timer added and the momentum in the process continues. Then you feel good about yourself that you finished it when you didn't want to in the beginning at all. You know when you watch Netflix at night and you tell yourself, okay, let's watch another episode. You finish that episode and you're like, okay, next episode, only 10 minutes. But then you end up finishing the whole episode that you didn't even mean to. That is a different variation of how you feel when you put that timer on, but the timer is a more positive and more effective way. Here is another tool for you though. Getting better at managing your time so that things don't feel chaotic when obstacles come in your way, which we all know that they will. But the most important thing to truly do is to take control of your time and how you spend it, especially on the things that matter, the ones that matter the most to get you to where you want to be. And what does this even mean? Creating a schedule for yourself that actually makes sense. Getting clear on the hours that are meant for certain tasks that you are wanting to complete. Making sure you make time for both business and creativity. And most importantly, just living your life, doing absolutely nothing. Filling up your own cup and knowing when you need it as well. How would that ideal version of you manage their time? What would they be doing to make sure everything is happening in their life? Now, can you slowly but surely step into that daily to start getting into that normalization process? When you manage your time well, there is no more guessing. You have predictability and reassurance from your own system or systems, which fuels you with the task that you are doing at hand. Now, I used to be really bad at this, I'm not gonna lie, but recently I feel like this has been one of the most rewarding things and one of the most freeing things I've ever done for myself. You should definitely try it out. And the last one is pushing yourself even when it feels uncomfortable. If you need a break, give yourself a break. If you feel overwhelmed, come back after you take a break. But come back as that version of yourself who would be able to handle all that you want, who would be able to hold all that you want, to be able to hold that action you want to be doing in the future. Being able to reach out to those people with full confidence, no doubt. Being able to prepare yourself and create things for yourself right now that you know the future version of yourself would need. For example, if a future version of yourself would be working with brands and knew that a way to get there was to cold pitch brands through email, what would you even need to get there? An email template, a tracker, how to follow up with the brands, a plan really. A system in place that you follow every single week that is already set up for you. What can you create now physically that helps systemize the process and leads you to that version of you who is doing exactly what you are envisioning, to where that is their daily process? And it gets truly so much easier when you're so clear about what you really want. And I mean what you truly want, not what somebody else wants for you. I'm talking about what your true self wants. And this is what I call alignment. Now let's get into the final chapter here, which is chapter number 4, time will tell. After naturally taking that action, things are going to compound over time. When you keep deciding to step into that ideal version of yourself by taking the actions daily to get yourself there and sync up exactly with your ideal self, that future version of yourself, you'll eventually get there. And one of the greatest lessons I have learned is that it is not an easy road. Some days you'll take action and wonder where the results are. Some days you'll do all that you can and still see literally nothing there. But the most important thing to remember is when you stretch out this period of time over months, you'll see the subtle changes that have been made that will be long lasting. And the ones that you will see will truly surprise you. And I'm talking about the ones to where you randomly realize something that is now normal to you that maybe wasn't before. Now you feel like you can hold a conversation easily with no awkward eye contact. You feel truly secure in your ability to hold and make 10K a month or more. Like it is actually possible for you to step in right now, instead of that being a future, far-fetched ideal version of yourself. Because you know now internally you have the capacity to hold it. Even if you don't physically have it yet, that path to that version of you is closer and closer. because of all that you are doing both internally and externally. And truly, only time will tell. And with all the behind the scenes momentum and compounding, the reality will catch up. It has to. Showing you exactly ways your ideal self is actually syncing up to you now, to your current self, the you now that is living in this current present moment. Well, actually, you currently synced up to your ideal self. The timeline shifted, choosing to take action both internally and externally. Changing the way that you view things, changing the way that you handle things, both externally and internally, and changing the way that you truly feel about yourself in relation to these things in each area of life that you wanted to focus on, up level, or improve. Now, on the way to your ideal self. And now, when I ask you if you time traveled to that ideal version of yourself, your answer would be, I am already living it.